Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So in this video we'll have a look at the chase handicap mark changes and some suggested targets and who to keep on side and who to, I don't really think there's any to give up on here, but who I quite like going forward. So we'll start off with Kitty's Light. Went up £8 to 140 for winning the Ida Chase. It's still actually £3 lower than when finishing second in the Scottish National. I'm sure if you follow my analysis of videos, you'll know I think Kitty's Light is even better than that when he gets a trip. Finally got a trip last time in the Ida. Scottish National, I think last time he was just beaten by a ridiculously well handicapped horse in Win My Wings. Yeah, I think 140 will be absolutely fine for Kitty's Light and fully expect him to take all the beating in the Scottish National as well. Don't really need to talk much about that. Second horse let's talk about is That's Alright Gino, who finished second in the Grade 2, I can't remember the name of the race, Pendle? The Pendle. Finished second in the Pendle behind Solo. Now, as you know, I'm a big fan of Solo, always have been. Went up £4, That's Alright Gino. Not ideal, with the Cheltenham Festival in mind, considering he's being aimed at the plate. But if you look at his form when second to stage start at Cheltenham over 2.5, that's still his best bit of form in my opinion. That was a really good run. Last time out he was second at Kempton, which probably felt back to 2 Mile. The leader got a bit of a free run. It was quite, it was an ordinary paced 2 Mile. And I think That's Alright Gino probably just gets caught for a bit of speed. Somebody did suggest that he might need some cheek pieces or headgear. I'm not so sure personally. I don't think that's what's causing him not to win. I think he just wants 2.5 and he wants a stiffer track than Kempton. He's only had that once. That came at Cheltenham behind a Grade 1 horse. Stage Star's going to end up in that Brown Advisory or the Turners. Probably I think he'll go up to the Brown Advisory and probably run a decent race. Stage Star is a former Grade 1 winner over hurdles. There was nothing wrong with that effort from That's Alright Gino, and I felt the same again at Kempton. £4 is frustrating, but I still think 145 he can go very, very close of 145 in the plate. The third horse I want to talk about is 5 Star Getaway, who's dropped to £1 to 126. Maybe the ground wasn't soft enough for 5 Star Getaway. The winner actually went up, I think, £8 or £9. If they reopposed and it was on soft ground, I would still be going for 5 Star Getaway personally. Yeah, just give him that. The thing that they'll probably be focusing on is the soft ground. They'll probably go, we think he's well handicapped, but we need soft ground now, and if we get good to soft, we're not going to run him. They probably felt they might as well at Newcastle and see how they get on. I think if it came up soft, there's this race back at Kempton over 2.5 at Kempton on the 18th of March, which would be ideal. The problem is it's the soft ground now. He needs that soft ground. There's the Topham. Is it the Topham or whatever it is at which race is it? He ran in it last year. Actually didn't run particularly well, but probably needs the softer going. What's this called? The Topham. At Aintree that he could be looking at. Something like that is where we could be going, where they could be going with 5 Star Getaway. So just keep an eye on him and the need for soft ground. The next horse I want to talk about is Jacamar, who's dropped £1 to 132. He just wasn't good enough, was he? Again, he stepped up to this Class 1 / Class 2 handicap, and he's not good enough. That's where he finishes 8th and 6th and 6th and 9th. But as soon as you drop him back to Class 3, he wins at Leicester, and I think there is a race for him, and it's actually back at Leicester. It's only 11 days time, or it'd be 14 from when he ran, 13 from when he ran. But if he ran here at Leicester, he would win that. If he's fit, he would win that. If he's ready to take his chance again. where could they go after that? You know, then they can have another look, maybe at the race at the Cheltenham in April, if they think, you know, they do have a Class 1/Class 2 handicapper. I don't think they do. I think Giacomo is just below that, and that's why every time he steps up he struggles. But if we see him in a Class 2 race, Class 3 race, sorry, he would be right at the top of my shortlist, probably, depending on who's in the race, obviously. Next, I want to talk about Killer Clown. Dropped £3 on his step up to 3 mile. You can see the last time he stepped up to 3 mile was way back here in November when he disappointed at Exeter. Yeah, he probably didn't stay the 3 mile, but also he was well beat when he fell. I just don't think he's, again, probably not the class of this. But there's that Kempton race that I think I've said for 5-Star Getaway. It would definitely suit Killer Clown. He won it last year. He's only £2 higher, and he won by 8 lengths last year. So surely that's where he'll be going back to the same race that he won last year, which is here, off a £2 higher mark. He went off 11-2 that day. I imagine he'll go off a shorter price than 11-2 this year and take all the beating again in it. So there's quite an obvious one there for Killer Clown. The next horse that I want to talk about is St Calvados. He pulled up at Kempton. Probably isn't the class that he used to be, but also does he stay the 3 mile? Not sure. I know he's finished 3rd and 4th in King George's, but does he quite get home? Handicapper has given him a chance. He's dropped him £4 to 150. If you're ever going to find out whether he's good enough, this is the race for him. The Silver Trophy at Cheltenham over 2.5 on Wednesday the 19th of April. The last time he actually ran in a handicap before the 3 mile, the last time he ran in a 2.5 mile handicap was back here. I think he ran it off 157, so he would run off 150. He was beaten a neck by Old Grangewood at Cheltenham in the Paddy Power Gold Cup, in the Paddy Power Handicap Chase. Beaten a neck, I think it was a neck, behind Old Grangewood, who had come from winning at Newbury, I believe. Yeah, he'd won a good race at Newbury. You know, it's fairly obvious for me that's where they've got to try with St Calvados. If it doesn't work, then they might look at retiring him. The final horse in this video is Enrillo. So before Saturday, Paul Nicholls has suggested that they were targeting the Bet365 and they will see how he gets on at Kempton. Now, as we know, Enrillo's been bang out of form, been failing to finish races. The last 2 races he's actually finished were both at Kempton in that race. So he finished 4th in 2022 and he finished 6th in 2023. Now, so therefore we know he can finish races at Kempton. Where else can he finish races? So last year he disappointed in a Bet365 off 150, off one, what is he now? 137, he was 144 last year. Disappointed off 144 when he pulled up, but you can see that he went off 9-2 that day. So that was a real disappointment. And the previous year he went off, this one, 7-2. He went off 7-2 off a £6 higher mark. Now, he was first past the post and got disqualified. I think Kitty's Light probably would have beaten him if they'd all run straight, but he would have still finished 2nd and he would have still gone really, really close. Whereas he didn't quite go close at Kempton last year, did he? Faded late on, and he did a similar sort of thing at Kempton this year. Whereas we know he can run well at Sandown. That's got to be where they go next with him. Back to that, give him one more try in the Bet365 Gold Cup. If it doesn't work, then again he might be one that they might look to retire or move on to another trainer to try and spark him back up. But yeah, I mean, off 137 he's ridiculously well handicapped, and that's got to be where they go with him. So my little extra thoughts I said at the bottom. I like a lot of these targets. I really like them all. 5-Star Getaway is probably ground dependent. Giacomo is class dependent. Killer Clown's got to go to Kempton. St Calvados surely goes to Cheltenham, and Enrillo surely goes to Sandown. I think Paul Nicholls has 2 here very well handicapped horses in St Calvados and Enrillo. but are they still the horses they used to be? These 2 races would surely give us a great idea whether they are still the horse or whether they have completely lost form and maybe need retiring or moving on to another stable.